Tonight's top story follows a homecoming that has sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry, proving that the ultimate revenge is a career so massive it eclipses the very platform that once rejected you. We are tracking the emotional return of Jennifer to the American Idol stage, a stage where 22 years ago she was told her journey had reached its end. But as we saw this week during the high-stakes Disney night, that end was merely a prologue. Tonight, we look past the standing ovation to uncover the grit, the industry politics, and the silent battles that turned a seventh-place loser into the reigning queen of Hollywood's elite EGOT circle. You're looking at a woman who stepped into a time machine to face the very moment her world collapsed. Walking back into the American Idol studio isn't just a guest appearance for someone like Jennifer. It is a psychological confrontation with a past that tried to define her by a single failure. When she stepped onto that stage for Disney Night, the air in the room noticeably shifted, crackling with a level of respect usually reserved for visiting royalty. This is the same hardwood where, in 2004, a younger, less experienced Jennifer stood in a state of visible shock as delivered the news that they was going home. The news industry at the time called it the shocker of the century, and coming back now isn't just about singing a song, it's about a total reclamation of space. Reporters on the scene noted that didn't just perform, she owned the atmosphere, radiating a level of confidence that only comes from 20 years of proving the experts wrong. The emotional weight was palpable, as if she was singing directly to that 22-year-old girl who once thought her life was over after a popular vote didn't go her way. This wasn't just a performance for the fans, it was a high-profile statement to every artist who has ever been told they weren't enough. The silence in the room before she began was heavy with the history of that 2004 exit, a haunting reminder that while the show moves on every season, the scars of a public rejection like that never truly disappear until you face them head-on. She stood there, not as a former contestant, but as a living testament to the fact that the person holding the microphone has more power than the person holding the scorecard. The narrative of the night was clear. The prodigal daughter hadn't just returned. She had the house entirely, transforming a site of past trauma into a podium of global triumph. Behind the glitz of the Disney theme lies the ghost of a voting scandal that nearly took down the biggest show on television. To understand why this return feels so monumental, we have to look back at the dark clouds of 2004, a season that remains one of the most controversial in reality TV history. The night Jennifer was eliminated, she sat in the bottom three alongside Fantasia and La London, three of the most powerful vocalists the show had ever seen. The three divas, as they were known, were expected to be the final three, but a strange shift in the audience's focus led to Jennifer's premature exit. John famously called the results racist at the time, sparking a massive national debate about how talent was being measured on the. There were accusations that the voting system was flawed and that the show's producers were more interested in a certain look than raw vocal ability. Jennifer took that hit on live television, maintaining a level of grace that many would have found impossible under the circumstances. Circulated for years that she was difficult or unmarketable, labels often placed on strong women of who don't immediately fit into a prepackaged pop star box. But even as the headlines tried to bury her career before it started, Jennifer was quietly planning her next move. She didn't lash out at the judges, she simply took the exposure she had and turned it into an audition for the rest of her life. That elimination wasn't just a loss, it was a liberation from a contract that might have stifled her true potential. If she had won American Idol, she might have been trapped in a restrictive recording deal. Instead, the Robbery of 2004 became the catalyst for a career that would eventually transcend music entirely, moving into the realms of film and where she would find her true voice and a legacy that no reality show could ever manufacture. Before the Oscars and the Grammys, industry insiders were whispering that she simply didn't have the look to be a leading lady. In the wake of her Idol exit, faced a mountain from record executives and talent agents who viewed reality TV stars as flash-in-the-pan novelties. The industry narrative was brutal. She was too soulful for pop, too bold for the background, and supposedly lacked the marketability required for a global superstar. We've uncovered reports from that era suggesting that several major labels passed on her, citing a lack of clear branding. It was a period of intense struggle where the idol tag felt more like a weight than a wing. However, the controversy surrounding her elimination actually worked in her, keeping her name in the headlines and catching the eye of casting directors who were looking for something more substantial than a pop princess. When the casting for began, she wasn't just competing against other singers, she was fighting against a stereotype. She had to prove that her voice wasn't just big, it was cinematic. The of her difficult nature were quickly replaced by stories of her incredible work ethic on set. She took the rejection from the music industry and used it as fuel to dominate the acting world, a move that shocked the very executives who had turned her down just months prior. By the time she stood on the stage to accept her Academy Award, the unmarketable label was officially dead. She had successfully bypassed the traditional gatekeepers, proving that the idol machine was just one small gear in a much larger engine. This era of her life was defined by a quiet, fierce defiance against an industry that tried to tell her who she was before she had the chance to show them. She became the living proof that you don't need to win the popular vote to win the cultural war, and that marketability is often just a code word for a lack of imagination from the people in charge. For Disney Night wasn't just a theme, it was a callback to the days when she was singing for her survival on the high seas. The choice for Jennifer to return specifically during Disney Night carries a layer of irony that most viewers might have missed. Before she ever stepped foot in an American Idol audition room, Jennifer was a performer on Disney Cruise Lines. She has often spoken about that time as her training ground, where she would perform multiple shows a day, honing her stamina and learning how to capture an audience's attention in a high-pressure environment. Returning to the Idol stage under the Disney banner was a profound, full-circle moment that linked her humble beginnings to her current status as a global icon. In the industry, Disney represents the gold standard of making dreams come true, but for Jennifer, those dreams were built on the back of grueling work and constant travel. Her performance of Circle of Life wasn't just a showcase of her vocal range. It was a nod to the thousands of hours she spent singing those same songs while the world was still unaware of her name. There's a specific kind of magic in seeing a former cruise ship singer return to the most famous stage in America to be by the very company that gave her one of her first. Insider sources say that Jennifer was particularly adamant about the emotional tone of her performance, wanting it to reflect the journey of a dreamer who never lost sight of the shore. The symbiosis between her personal history with the Disney brand and her public history with American Idol created a perfect storm of nostalgia and triumph. It was a reminder that while the spotlight is bright, the work done in the shadows is what truly prepares you for the moment the curtains rise and the real world starts watching. She entered the room as a former contestant, but she left it as a member of the most exclusive club in human history. The term EGOT is thrown around a lot in Hollywood, but the reality of achieving it is almost statistically impossible. By winning an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony, Jennifer has entered a stratosphere of success that only 19 people have ever reached. When she returned to Idol, she wasn't just bringing her voice, she was bringing the weight of that legacy. Each award represents a different battle won. The Oscar for her soul-shattering performance in, the Grammys for her vocal excellence, the Daytime Emmy for her work in interactive media, and the Tony for her role as a producer on A Strange Loop. This evolution from a rejected singer to a multidisciplinary titan is the blueprint for modern career longevity. It sends a powerful message to the current contestants. The show is a launchpad, not a landing strip. Its EGOT status has changed the way the industry views talent competitions. She is the patient zero for the idea that you don't need the title to win the war. In the years following her Idol stint, she faced immense personal tragedies and professional setbacks, yet she continued to diversify her portfolio, eventually launching her own successful talk show. This EGOT energy was on full display during her return, as she mentored the top contestants with the perspective of someone who has seen every side of the business. She didn't talk down to them, she spoke to them as peers who are currently in the refiner's fire. The narrative of Jennifer is no longer about her 2004 exit. It is about her 22-year reign of excellence that shows no signs of slowing down. proving that true talent eventually finds its own level regardless of where it starts. As ratings for traditional singing competitions continue to slide, Jennifer's return might be the Hail Mary the producers have been praying for. There is significant chatter behind the scenes about the future of American Idol and Jennifer's potential role in it. For years, fans have been calling for her to join the judging panel, citing her direct experience with the show's pressures and her undeniable expertise. Her appearance on Disney Night felt to many like a screen test for a more permanent position. As the show grapples with how to remain relevant in the age of tick-and viral stars, bringing back a legacy figure provides a sense of legitimacy that money can't buy. There are that her appearance sparked a massive spike in social media engagement, proving that the effect is still very much alive. Furthermore, her return highlights a growing trend of legacy TV, where networks rely on the massive stars they created decades ago to bring back a sense of nostalgia to a fractured audience. Whether she takes a seat at the judges' table or continues to appear as a guest mentor, her presence is a lifeline for a franchise that needs to remind the world of its golden era. But beyond the business of television, Jennifer's return serves as a permanent correction to the record. She has moved beyond the need for the show's validation, which ironically makes her the most valuable person they could ever have on screen. She isn't just a guest. She is the standard by which all future contestants will be measured, a beacon for what is possible when the industry's gatekeepers are finally bypassed by sheer force of talent. As the lights on Jennifer's returned to the stage, it became clear that the story was never about the 7th-place finish or the 2004 heartbreak. It was about what happens when you refuse to let a public no become your private reality. Jennifer didn't just survive American Idol. She outlasted it, outworked it, and ultimately, she it by showing the world exactly what a winner looks like, with or without a trophy. It leaves us with one haunting question. If the woman who lost can achieve all of this, what are we capable of once we stop listening to the people who say we aren't marketable? The story of Jennifer isn't over. In many ways, for the next generation of dreamers, it's just beginning.